You do everything right. You show up early. You hit targets. Then a calendar invite appears. Quick sync. 10 minutes later, your access is gone. Not because you failed, because you became predictable. Here's the contradiction they don't say out loud. The more reliable you are, the easier you are to replace. In the next few minutes, you'll understand why job security feels weaker every year. Not as a vibe, as a system. You'll see the first hidden mechanism that quietly downgraded your career from role to cost. Then you'll see how companies intentionally optimize that mechanism. Then who profits when your stability collapses. And by the end, you'll recognize the uncomfortable part. You're not experiencing bad luck. You're living inside a design. Act 1 starts with a simple shift most people missed. Your job used to be a relationship. Now it's a subscription. And subscriptions get cancelled the moment the spreadsheet says margin. Think about how you behave. You document your work to be helpful. You train the new hire to be a team player. You build templates to save time. Each of those things makes you less necessary. Act 2 gets colder. Companies didn't stumble into this. They engineered it. They turned headcount into a dial they can twist weekly. They standardized tasks into checklists. They split one job into 5 micro-responsibilities. They track output like a factory. Why? Because anything that can be measured can be priced. Anything that can be priced can be shopped. Then comes the optimization layer you don't see. They keep teams slightly understaffed on purpose. Not because they can't hire, because scarcity changes behavior. You stop taking vacation. You stop saying no. You absorb extra work to prove you're essential. That panic is productive. And when the workload spikes, they don't add permanent staff. They add contractors, temp roles, vendors, short-term labor that can be deleted without severance, without headlines, without guilt. A workforce built to be reversible. Act 3 is the money. Who benefits when job security disappears? Not the manager, not even the company in the long run. The winners are the people paid to make labor flexible, consultancies that restructure, software platforms that monitor performance, staffing firms that take a cut of your hourly rate, private equity that squeezes costs, sells the company, and leaves the staff with the damage. Here's the extraction. When you feel insecure, you accept less, lower raises, more unpaid hours, worse benefits. You don't negotiate. You don't switch. You cling. That fear is a discount. And it compounds. Final layer. This isn't just happening at work. It changes your entire life. You delay having kids. You avoid medical appointments. You keep a bad relationship because moving is expensive. You don't start the business you talk about. You stay quiet in meetings. Job security feels weaker because it is weaker. But the disturbing reframe is this. The insecurity isn't a side effect. It's the product. A workforce that's always slightly afraid is cheaper, faster, and easier to control. And if you're waiting for it to go back to normal, you're waiting for a system to stop doing what it was built to do. You did everything right. You showed up early, hit your numbers, stayed loyal. Then one calendar invite wipes you out in 8 minutes. Here's the contradiction. Companies say they can't find talent, while they're deleting jobs like spam. By the end of this, you'll understand why job security isn't weaker. It's being engineered out of the system. You'll see the mechanism, how it's optimized, who profits, and why your daily behavior is feeding it without you noticing. Act 1. The first hidden mechanism is that your job isn't valued like a relationship anymore. It's valued like inventory. Inventory gets optimized. Inventory gets written off. And in modern accounting logic, labor is the fastest cost to cut to change the story Wall Street hears next quarter. That's why layoffs happen when the company is profitable. The goal isn't survival, it's narrative control. A 3% headcount cut can lift margins instantly, and margins move valuations. Your performance review doesn't compete with a single slide labeled Operating Efficiency. Act 2. Now watch how this is intentionally optimized. First, work is decomposed into measurable units: tickets, calls, output per hour. Once your job is converted into metrics, it can be compared, priced, outsourced, or automated. That's not management. That's commoditization. Second, companies keep a permanent bench outside the building. Contractors, temps, offshore teams, gig platforms. The bench creates a threat you can't negotiate with. When a manager says, "We need flexibility," they mean you need to be replaceable on demand. Third, instability is made to feel like your fault. Upskill. Personal brand. Be agile. Those phrases sound supportive. They're also a legal and psychological transfer of responsibility. If security disappears, the system wants you blaming yourself, not the design. Act 3. Who benefits and how is money extracted? Investors benefit first. Layoffs are a signal. They tell the market, management will sacrifice people to protect returns. The stock pops. Executives benefit next because compensation is tied to that stock pop, not to your rent. Then comes the quiet extraction, your unpaid labor. When teams shrink, the workload doesn't. It gets redistributed. You answer messages faster. You skip lunch. You accept temporary responsibilities. The company captures extra output without paying for extra headcount. And insecurity itself becomes a productivity tool. People who feel replaceable don't push back. They don't ask for raises. They don't report problems. They compete with each other for safety that no longer exists. Fear becomes management software. Final minute. Here's the disturbing reframe. You're not employed in a stable system. You're being rented in a market that's designed to keep you slightly desperate. Your career is a variable cost line item, constantly repriced against cheaper labor, faster tools, and quarterly targets. So when job security feels weaker every year, it's not because you're imagining it. It's because the system works better when you can't relax. The moment you feel safe, you negotiate, you plan, you say no. And that's the one thing this machine can't afford. You do everything right. You show up early. You hit targets. And still you get the email, "Role eliminated." Here's the contradiction. The economy is strong. Your company is growing. And job security still feels like it's dissolving under your feet. By the end of this, you'll understand why stability isn't being lost by accident. You'll see the mechanism that makes your job feel temporary. You'll see how it's engineered to stay that way. And you'll see who gets paid when your life becomes flexible. Act 1. The first hidden mechanism is simple. Your job is no longer a job, it's a line item. Not a person who does X, a cost per unit of output. And the moment your output can be measured, it can be compared against other teams, other countries, other software, other vendors. That's why your work gets sliced into tickets, metrics, dashboards. It isn't just efficiency, it's portability. New layer, once work becomes portable, loyalty becomes irrational. Companies don't need commitment, they need optionality. Think about your daily routine, status updates, time tracking. Document the process. You think it protects you, it actually turns your job into a kit that can be handed to someone else. Act 2. Now the optimization. This system is intentionally tuned to keep you replaceable. Step 1. Standardize. Your company builds playbooks, templates, scripts, best practices. Sounds helpful. But standardization isn't for you. It's so any new hire can be plugged in faster, and any current hire can be removed with less friction. New layer. The org chart is being redesigned around volatility. More contractors, more trial periods, more short-term projects. Why? Because permanent staff creates obligations, benefits, severance, legal risk. Variable labor turns people into a dial, up in good quarters, down when the numbers miss. New layer. Layoffs aren't only cost-cutting, they're a signal, a message to the remaining employees. You're lucky to be here. That fear doesn't just reduce wages, it increases compliance. Longer hours, fewer questions, less bargaining. You feel it every time you answer Slack at night without being asked. Act 3. So who benefits? Executives get stock price protection because Wall Street rewards discipline. That's code for cutting payroll fast. Private equity gets extraction. They buy, load debt, cut staff, sell the story of lean operations, and cash out. And vendors get paid. Every time a department is cut, a tool replaces it. Automation contracts, outsourcing contracts, consulting contracts. Your insecurity is someone else's revenue stream. New layer. The money doesn't just come from your labor, it comes from your silence. When workers are isolated and scared, wages lag inflation. Benefits shrink quietly, training disappears, and the savings don't vanish. They move upward into buybacks, bonuses, and debt payments. You feel less secure. They call it margin expansion. Final minute. Here's the disturbing reframe. Job security feels weaker because your life is being converted into a subscription. Not just Netflix. Your income, your health insurance, your housing approval, your ability to plan. When stability dies, you don't negotiate. You accept. You delay having kids. You stay in a bad city. You don't take risks. You don't speak up. And the system doesn't need to control you with force. It controls you with uncertainty. So the next time someone says, "No one wants to work anymore," ask the real question. Who designed work to feel disposable?